In this video, I want to go over commands in Laravel 5. Now, in Laravel 4, the term command was used to describe an artisan command. In Laravel 5, it's slightly different, and that's what we're going to be looking at today. So, what I've done is I've created a very basic application which actually doesn't function at all. Nothing happens. It's basically a product creation form. So here I've got my HTML view. I've created my routes here, and I've also got my product controller. Inside show create, we're just simply returning this view. And in post create, we're creating the product, although that's actually commented out since we're not connected to a database. But that's not the point of this lesson. Now, before we go ahead with this, I want to first refresh our memory on the last video by creating a request for this form. So to do that, let's go to our terminal. We're going to say php artisan make request, create product request. So if we open that up now, it doesn't want to open. Create product request. We haven't got any sort of authorization system, so we're just going to return true here. Down here we'll enter our rules. The name of the product will be required. It will be a minimum of 3 characters and a max of 100. Description is also required. Minimum of... Actually, let's just leave that out. We'll set a max of 500 though. Okay, so if we go back and hit submit without entering anything, it isn't going to work yet, and that's because we haven't injected that request into our method. So up here we're going to add a use statement for the request. So use acme http requests create product request, and we're just going to inject that down here. Create product request request. So let's hit submit and we get these errors. If we enter something that's below 3 characters in our name, we're going to get an error as well. So all of that is working fine. And just as a side note, what we can actually do is replace this with request all. It makes it look a bit cleaner. But anyway, we're not going to do that because by creating the product inside our controller, that is actually violating the single responsibility principle. So instead we're going to use a command. So we're going to get rid of that, and we're going to create a new command using artisan. So php artisan make command, create product command. And if we go to our commands directory, we'll see our command in here. So we want to get rid of this self-handling command thing. We don't want that for now. We're also going to get rid of this handle method, and we'll get rid of this comment. It looks a bit messy. Now all this command is basically a data transfer object. So in other words, instead of passing lots of different arguments to a function, for example, create product, name, description, you'd have an image, you'd have a price. Instead of doing that, what you actually do instead is pass a single object. So create product, product. And product would actually be an object which we injected with those attributes. And that is what a data transfer object is. So that's all that this command is. So all we have to do is inject those arguments. So we had a name and a description. So this name equals name, and this description equals description. We're going to have a public name and a public description. Perfect. So now what we're going to do is import that command with the use statement. So use acme commands, create product command, and we're just going to instantiate that class. So this is fairly straightforward. We're just going to say product equals new, create product command, and we'll actually rename that to command for readability. And typically what we'd do here is say something like input get name and input get description, which looks extremely messy. So instead, we're going to utilize this request object that we injected. We're just going to reference properties, so request name and request description. And then we're going to say this dispatch command. And we'll actually just pop that into there to make it a little bit more compact. Okay, so if we go back to our browser and create a product, we'll say product title and description, we're going to get this exception. And that's because we haven't actually created a command handler. So to do this, if we look at our help list, we're going to use the handler command. So PHP Addison handler command. And we need to pass an option command, and this is going to be equal to the name of the command, which in this case is create product command. So paste that in and hit enter. Oh, we didn't actually enter the name of the command, the name of the handler, sorry. So PHP Addison handler command, create product command handler. Okay, so the handler was created successfully. If we go to handlers, commands, create product command handler, clean this up a bit. We can get rid of this constructor, we don't really need that. So you can see that this create product command actually gets injected automatically. So just for testing purposes, let's just die and dump that command. Hit refresh. Alright, okay. We didn't update this namespace. We need to change this to Acme commands. Hit refresh one more time, and there's our object. Perfect. So we're not going to actually add the functionality with the database or anything like that. This is just to demonstrate commands. What you would do is do something like product create name equals command name, description equals command description, and then you'd probably fire some sort of event, which we'll look at in the next video, and then you'd just return the product. Then inside of this controller here, you'd return redirect back with some sort of success message, but that's pretty much the gist of commands. Now you can see how much of an improvement this has made on this controller. We're no longer violating the SRP. And what it also does is allows for code reusability. For example, this could be an admin panel controller with this post create method. And then we could also have a moderation panel controller. But instead of rewriting all of this functionality, you could just use the same command that you did earlier.